Off at the top of Everest, we'll do that. This thing is going to be decided between the four lines. You know, they also got to come back to Miami if we want to make it about that. We'll turn off the air conditioning. They got to play in 90-degree humidity, sap the SHIT out of their legs. This thing is going to be decided between those four lines, and we'll decide it then.
Over here on your left.
So much has been made of Heat culture over the years, and this year especially because you're an 8 seed that's gotten this far. From your perspective, how would you define Heat culture and what separates?
I think it's been defined enough. I think you can just look at all the whatever 1,000 other articles about it. I don't think anybody wants to hear about it. It's something we believe in. It's for us. It's not for everybody. I also think you do have to credit and acknowledge Denver's culture. They have a very strong culture. I don't think it's a coincidence that the two teams have been able to have sustained success, and they've done a great job of building their culture. Mike and his staff have just done a tremendous job of building a system that fits, perfectly around their two top players, and they do all the right things. You're not going to have any kind of weaknesses or glitches or cracks in a culture or professionalism or anything like that. And we feel the same way about our group. So I just think it's set up for great competition.
Back right, Tim.
Erik, given what your team has gone through for the last 12 months, starting with Game 7 last year and then the play-in, and I mean, you know the history, obviously. Is this one maybe a bit more rewarding in some respects for you getting back here just because of how difficult this path was?
No, I probably think, Tim, more than anything, is just the more experience you have, just the more gratitude you have for any of these kind of opportunities. This league is so fragile. It is so tough, to go through the gauntlet. Not only just a regular season, 82 games, 5.5 months, but then to go through the gauntlet of 3 7-game series just to get to this point. You're just really grateful, for these kind of opportunities. And this is a special group, that this group has been able to overcome a lot of different things, handle a lot of adversity, setbacks, things that have not gone the way we wanted it to go. And instead of having that collapse our spirit, it allowed us to develop some fortitude and grit collectively, and give us something to rally around, which was each other. And those are special qualities. I mentioned the other night, those are it's a reflection of life, to be able to develop, those kind of things that can get you through the tough times. And then when you overcome it, it just makes things a lot more gratifying.
Vince in the third row.
Hey, Spo, Vince Gould, Yahoo Sports. You've had to coach against some pretty unique players, from Tim Duncan to Kevin Durant, Giannis. How unique of a challenge does Jokic present because of all the things he can do?
He's very unique. He doesn't really have any noticeable weaknesses in terms of his size, his skill set. He's one of one, and the myriad of ways that he can impact the game and impact winning. We have great respect for the Denver Nuggets organization, how they operate, and the system that they run, and this is the way it should be. You shouldn't be playing any ducks, at this point. When you get to the finals, I don't know why maybe the mainstream media have kind of slept on Denver, but when we saw them in the bubble, we thought, all right, this team is going to be doing basically what they're doing this year, then up until now. We thought this would be a run for a long time. If Murray didn't get hurt, they probably would have already had a couple finals berths. I mean, that's how great of a duo they are, and the system that Mike and his staff have built, it just really fits. So I think we all think they're legit. And in some ways, it's a mirror image, series, not in terms of style, but, teams that probably have been overlooked, underestimated, build a chip on their shoulder over that. So it's lined up, to be a great competition.
Ira in the front.
Ira Winderman, South Florida Sun Sentinel. Erik, we had a chance to see Tyler go through a pretty extensive workout in Boston. He said his hope is to come back for this series. What would you put the chances or odds or percentages of maybe Tyler Hero being able to see action in the finals?
I'm not a math guy, so I'm not good with percentages. He will not play tomorrow. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves right now. He's still just starting this process. We do have a few days, here just to continue his work. I can't even make any kind of proclamation until he takes these next important steps, and that's with contact and doing things more on the court live. And we'll just see. I mean, we're all encouraged by his progress that he's made. But we want to continue to be responsible and make the best decisions. He's not there yet.
Joe in the middle.
Joe Varden, The Athletic. Good afternoon. As the last series wore on, you had to go away from Kevin and Cody and go smaller. Do you reintroduce them in this series with obviously a much different opponent?
Yeah, it's still going to be all hands on deck. However this thing starts tomorrow, it probably will be similar to the last series, that it's going to look different by the end of the series. And you have to be open to all the different possibilities. Both K-Love and Cody are major pieces to what we do. And when you're dealing with, a guy like Jokic, you're probably going to need several bigs. And thankfully, we do have that kind of roster depth at that position, and they all bring something a little bit different. Nobody's going to be a quote-unquote stopper in this series. This is about competing every single possession, finding different kind of advantages in the margins that only competitors can find. But thankfully, we do have both of those guys, and we're able to pick them up late.
Jeff in the middle.
Jeff Zilgett, USA Today. Erik, you mentioned the duo in Jamal and Nikola. What is the pressure that they put on defenses?
Well, they're both dynamic. They both can do it on their own, but they also both really complement each other. That's hard to find in this league. When your two best players just absolutely complement each other. They both can and have scored 50 in a playoff game. And they both can be facilitators. And, I don't think either one of them care how many points they score. It's just about getting the most efficient shot, for the offense. So they play the right way. And that's, something that you have to try to get them out of that rhythm. There's no easy way to do that. You just have to find a way.
Back right, Rachel.
Rachel Nichols from Showtime. Erik, I asked this not knowing exactly what year you moved to Portland, so excuse my ignorance here. You've been in so many NBA finals in one way or another, but if I can take you back to when you were a kid, a teenager, and they were just something you watched on TV, what was the one that you remember being like, I want to be there, I want to be on that stage one day?
I didn't really think about it like that, because back then I was still thinking, hey, I'm going to play in the league. I definitely wasn't thinking, I want to be Jack Ramsey. I was scared of him. Probably and the story has been told many times, but, I probably had a little bit more awareness. Like, all right, I'm going nowhere as a player. And when Rick Adelman was the coach, he was, Jack Ramsey was the first image I had of a head coach. He was the coach of our team. And as I got older, in high school and college, it was Rick. And I just loved the way he operated. He's been a big mentor, to me. So the Adelman kids, including David, and I have known David since he was, probably 3. We were all running around the facility. But that's probably when I was followed them the most, when they made those 2 finals runs.
And do you remember thinking I could be there one day?
No,
Or
that wasn't really a thought. It was more just celebrating, that team and really trying to support all the families. The organizations were much smaller then, so it really felt like a family deal. You grew up, with the organization. They were just trying to support them and figure out a way how they could knock off those Bulls teams.
Melissa, last question.
Hey, Spo. Melissa Rowland, Fox Sports. Jamal Murray just said the two teams with the best chemistry have made it to the finals, and you kind of talked about it when you talked about the mirror image thing. How has your guys' chemistry and your guys' trust in one another gotten you guys through your many obstacles this season?
Yeah, it's those moments when nobody else understands, and nobody else is in the locker room. Nobody else, we say that all the time. Our guys are the men in the arena, and it's tough to explain it to people on the outside. But when you have these privileges to be able to go through adversity or setbacks and learn from that, I think those are lessons that we all could benefit from, that you develop a grit and a collective perseverance and fortitude. And if you approach it the right way, which this group does, that you can really grow, and they can be incredible life experiences to be able to come together, like that. But Denver has a very similar, personality. We didn't necessarily hang out with them in the bubble, but competitors recognize competitors, and we would acknowledge, them. And we never really, we didn't have to face them in the playoffs, but we always just seemed to bump into them. The staffs would bump into each other out on the lake, for whatever reason. We're all fishing out there, and those were the two organizations that were doing it. I have no idea why, but it was, they're good people. They're great competitors. We have respect for them. And they have an edge, Mike has an edge, and it's that edge is going to be there for both sides, and it's going to be decided, between those four lines, and this is what you want. You want the greatest challenges in this league. You're not expecting anything to be easy, particularly when you get to this level. We just want to get this started. We have great competitors that want to put themselves out there for everybody, to see and judge, and have no fear about it. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.